Hello and welcome to this Lord of the Rings Rise to War 2.0 video. It's been a little while since I've done anything. I'm known in game now as King Under the Mountain, and I did mean to do this as a live this morning, but I kind of got a bit dragged in something else, so I didn't get a chance to do that. So I thought I'd just make a quick video on my experiences of the opening day of a season. This is the first time I've played some 2.0. And even though I'm enjoying it, the troop combos are pretty hellish, and trying to keep some stamina on some comms is quite interesting. I started about an hour and a half behind everyone else. I'll go through where I am in the season in a second and where I am in the day. And I never thought as much as what I'm going to say this, but used knights is going to come back to haunt me because cavalry looks like the way forward for farming. I haven't used any yet, so again, it's a bit of a do's and don't do's, I think, is probably the key to this, and hopefully it'll help a few people. So the buffs completely changed. There is no more sort of replenishment of dead troops. The 90% off dead troops, that's now gone, so it's just your normal amount of dead. Your recovery time is better, and they've also got rid of the 10 stamina per move and giving you an extra 100 stamina at the start of the day. So I've still got 19 hours of buff left at the moment. I've taken a few 90s, which have been pretty costly, but I'm glad I took them because I needed some stone. So where is the rankings? So I'm in 10th currently, which I'm not particularly displeased with. I just think it's more difficult. There's a big gap between where I am and where this person in first is. Typically, I spawned, obviously, right by the person who is in first. So, as you can imagine, I'm trying to frantically keep all the tiles and not really doing all that well. So, I'll just move towards this 90 while I'm explaining. So my aim for this season is to run a formation of Dane, Gandalf the White, and then it gets a little bit of a toss-up between two, so it's likely to be Gimli and Galadriel as my main formation. I've built my gear specifically around being able to switch it between two groups of comms, and also around non-roleplay. So in the future, I do plan on my main formation being the Witch King, Scalhelm. I might throw in a little bit of Sauron as well, but it's likely to just be Witch King, Scalhelm, Dane, and Gandalf the White. And Gandalf the White purely just for damage mitigation. I run in with full White Council, and it'll be with full White Rider with a little bit in the white, as he's respect 10. White Rider I think is a great skill. I'd be interested to see how this matches with Sauron, because I know that they do work together, and it debuffs it together. So that'd be quite interesting if I could run it with a couple of damage commanders. I also really like Galadriel in 2.0. I think she's sort of come out the other side of it really well, with even just her low respect skills are really good for focus damage. So that's kind of where I am. I should have pressed that before then, but never mind. Can't win them all. So as you can see, I've got a couple of comms at at level 19 now. I've got Galadriel at 18, Gandalf 16, Bjorn, another comm that's done really well out of 2.0, but I'll come on to that later on. Isildur's 15. I didn't expect him to do as well as what he has done so far. And then I've got a couple of others. I've actually been using Boromir just for his evasion skill inside Warden, which has been quite handy actually for some of the lower tiles that I've been taking. So this losses on this weren't actually as bad, so that might be due to the fact that we now have Military Academy 1. But let's just go through where we are with building. So stamina wise, we've not got a great deal left on our mains at this stage. So Dane's got one move in him, Gandalf the White's got no moves, Galadriel 2, Gandalf's got quite a few now, Bjorn will probably have one, yeah. I was experimenting really with Bjorn, Isildur and T2 Aragon with what kind of tiles I could take and that kind of thing. And I've used Gimli in a similar sort of fashion, dwelling a little bit that way. So it's been more experimentation than what I'm used to. I'm used to finishing quite high up after day one in the production rankings. So I'll be interested to see where I do actually finish. Where I am with buildings at the moment, I have main hall 5, barracks 8, conscription 8. Like I say, I've just unlocked military academy 1, which seems to make quite a big difference to that last 90 tile actually. And I've still got 11 free tiles, but I'm not overly convinced that's going to matter at this stage. So I've been kind of running around with a mix of commanders. So this was the tile before. I'm guessing Hergon, to be fair, was probably a harder defender looking at the results anyway. But only running devotion. I can't really see any reason why that would be so much better, but without the extra command inside my unit. So I'm okay-ish with that. It's still quite a lot of dead, particularly in the way the buff works now, but this is with military academy and a couple of extra levels, so far better on the latest 90. Probably helps that it was Maltok. And I am running all T2 units now. A lot of people seem to be running cavalry builds, which I'm probably going to, if you can't beat them, join them surely with some knights, ironically. And running Imrahil with this skill here. So 2 allied formations have a 75% chance of gaining attack plus 2 each round and stun immunity. And also running this skill, which is brilliant, and this is the healing sort of meta build that people have got at the minute. So this skill from Imrahil and the same skill on Denethor is proving to be probably the only healing build that actually works at the moment. And it works really well, to be fair. It's quite impressive as long as you have got cavalry, 3 units cavalry. I've seen people running it with really, really low respect gear, and it's worked out really well. The fellowship I will be in for this season is dead. It used to be Toby. It is the same fellowship. It's just a name change. After last season's absolute mauling by Bear. And that's kind of where I'm at, really. So what I've learned so far is that it seems for farming, cavalry is far better than infantry. And I've probably missed a trick by not having any of my main gear based around command, because it's based around my sort of endgame PvP gear, I would probably say. So just going into Dane, for example, I don't know how much people who are watching this know about the sort of current builds and what people are trying to achieve when they're putting the gear together, but as you can see, I do not have a full set of gear. And the reason behind this is, and I think Fellow of the Rings did quite a good sort of podcast type stream on this the other day, where rather than just having any item with Warcry as a skill, for example, to match all these up, the Palantir actually gives 48 attack and 5 damage. So for a physical damage commander like Dane, the damage is really important because it's your main multiplier to how much attack you actually manage to do and how much damage you do to the enemy. And the 48 attack actually pretty much outweighs a lot of different skills, so it outweighs Sharp Blade because most of the accessories only have, say, a 20 attack or something like that on top, so it still works out better. Ideally, I would like to have this as a full set, but I don't. So Dane has my main piece of equipment really in the Axe of Khazad-dûm, fully refined, and I went with the Warborn battle plate because I think at some stage commander HP and defense is actually going to be important. I'm just not convinced they've turned it on yet within the system. People would argue at the moment that there are some better options, and even 1.0 gear Some of that's actually better options currently, particularly for attack. But I do again get the feeling that they're going to start phasing out 1.0 gear at some stage or another from that really helpful customer service team that they've got. So other options, if you have got it to run on your damage commanders, that I've found quite useful so far. If I can find one in here somewhere, I know I've got one in here somewhere. Yeah, so the golden skin's actually a really good option because it gives you a little bit more attack. It still gives you a little bit of defense and actually gives you some unit defense, which is quite handy because the longer your units stay alive, it seems at the moment, the more your commander stays alive. But like I say, I've kind of used all my respect refunds, and I've used a lot of hammers, to be fair, to get my gear to where it is now. So again, with focus commanders, I'm basically, this isn't a full set again, I'm trying to get Gandalf the White's focus skill as high as possible, which is why this isn't a full set. And the reason for that is because I want this White Council skill, which is probably the most broken skill in the game at the moment, which is modified by focus, to sort of run at around a really high number. So if I can just look at a report just quickly, I'll try and explain why that is with Gandalf the White. I think it's in this report, yep. So reports as well now are an absolute nightmare. I think everyone's kind of come to that conclusion. The 4, or in this case 3 commanders, is quite hard to pick out what you actually want from the report. So there you go. So even at level 19, Gandalf the White Council is giving 60.7% damage received reduction. Now that's a lot of damage reduction, and this is why people have kind of complained about this skill at the moment, because it does take away so much damage for so many hits. If you look at how many hits it actually is, I think it goes up to 8. The first 8 sort of, 7 increases now. So the first 7 instances of damage that you receive per commander and per unit, it's kind of 60% off, which is why people have been complaining. You can run it as double White Council, and I use that right at the start of the day, if I can find it, with Dane, just to try and get a leg up really straight into 30 tiles by sort of really reducing the damage. As you can see, it's been a long day taking tiles, so I'll see if I can find that report. Here we go. So this is where we started today. Where's that first 30 tile with Dane? It feels weird hitting 15 tiles that have got more than one commander on and losing some stuff still, so really odd. This is it here. So really and truthfully, yes, okay, the losses aren't fantastic on that tile, but it would have been a lot worse. Bear in mind, I'm only level 7, and the reason behind that is I basically use double White Council, and it does stack. Another reason why people are complaining about White Council. I'll just show you in the battle report just quick. Here you go. So Gandalf the White gives 58.3% damage received reduction. Gandalf the Grey gives 57.8%. So it's just a ridiculous amount of reduction. Plus they also got shielding there. So yeah, not much damage being received, shall we say. But, you know, for the sake of when you're farming early on, this kind of formation can work really well. Someone will obviously do some damage for you. So so that's why that gear is like that for Gandalf the White and is not a set. Now, again, I would like this to be a set, and when I start running Witch King, for example, this will be my Witch King gear, and he will have the Bone Mass to complete the set, because I think it will come out a little bit more on the damage front. Galadriel here, this is at the moment, I would say, apart from the Obsidian Dagger, which has just been introduced, the best in slot gear for her for focus. The more focus she has, the more damage she can do, based around these skills here. And Lady of Lorien as well, which is another great skill. I've been avoiding this so far. I'm not a big Galadriel user. I am a bit of a physical damage person in Dane, and I had planned on running non-roleplay this season. But I found this is quite a handy skill, Nenya's Guardian. The healing's not fantastic, but it is boosted by your focus stat, so even 1 point in there's something to have. And this is just basically to try and get a damage as high as possible. What I would like to know, and I don't think this has been solved yet by me or by anyone else that we were trying to find out yesterday. I wonder if I can find a report with Galadriel. What people were wanting to know, and if anyone can answer this, please put it in the comments, is if when Mistress of Magic goes to level 5, normal attacks now deal focus damage. Does that scale off her attack stat, which is what normally physical damage would, or whether it scales off her focus stat? Now I could probably test this and have a look, but if anyone actually knows the answer, that would be great. So I to kind of conclude where I'm at with 2.0 at the moment, they've also took away the speed buff for walking around. I felt like I took a lot more 15 tiles than normal and a lot more 30 tiles than normal, but I don't think it's necessarily been a bad thing. I think it'd just be nice if everyone kind of knew where they were with it, but over a period of time that's obviously going to sort of bottom itself out. Just to go through the other people I plan on using more than others. I have got Gimli's unique, but it won't come up yet. I've also got Dane's unique, and I have Gandalf the White's unique. I think it's really disappointing that we can't break down uniques at the moment, because I've got 2 Obsidian Daggers in Gimli's unique, which I'd really like for my focus commanders. But it looks like they're not going to introduce that we can break apart the uniques, which is a little bit disappointing, but can't really do much about it at this stage. I just wish I'd known before I did that. So when I eventually get into PvP, it'll be a difference between either Gimli or Bjorn. I haven't quite made that decision yet. Mixed with Dane, Gandalf the White, and Galadriel for some focus damage. I'll just touch on Bjorn very briefly, as I think he's one of the commanders that's really benefited from 2.0 with some great skills, really. I ignore Forest of the Guardian because I can't see, troop damage at the moment doesn't seem to be anywhere near the meta, so I can't see how this tree is going to be massively helpful at this stage. That might change, but I just can't see it when physical damage is such a thing. So he has 3 really nice physical damage skills. I really like Enemy of the Orc. It's a rush skill at level 5 and it hits 3 formations. And it's sort of activated every round, so that will happen round 1 because I've got that there now, and then round 3. So mixed with something like a Warcry, it's probably quite nice. But I actually think the best set for Bjorn's arguably Perseverance because of the way his damage scales. So his other good skill, Anduin Vale Chieftain, is another great skill. It's actually got Bleed. Now the Bleed mechanic is something that's actually one of the probably more overpowered mechanics in the game if you can get it to work properly. I'll probably touch on that in a later video, but Bleed is a very good skill to have. So not only does it cause really good physical damage to a couple of formations, it's also got the Bleed skill, which is pretty good. And then this is probably my favourite skill of Bjorn's, Skin Changer. So from round 4 onwards, he shapeshifts and deals quite a significant amount of damage. So to 3 physical formations, that is a one-off attack. I got pretty confused by this skill when I first read it because I thought, oh, this is great because he does about 600 damage to 2 formations every round from then on. He doesn't. He just does it as a one-off in round 4. But he can also inflict madness potentially. at level 5, and he also gains Stun and Madness immunity, which is pretty handy because there isn't much equipment around to block that these days in 2.0 once you reach level 10. He also gains this plus attack to the end of the fight, so if you mix that with Perseverance and these skills here, you can really do some sort of late round significant damage, which I've seen Bjorn in some reports doing sort of 130k damage. Nowhere near the amount that this guy is currently doing. He's already been nerfed once, and it wouldn't surprise me if he got nerfed again. I hope he doesn't, because he is my favourite commander, and he's one that I invested quite heavily in 1.0 with the gear that I had, and in 2.0 he's still got my better gear, but I've seen him do over 200k damage now in some reports. It's just a stupid amount of damage. Evil side have got Lurtz doing quite a lot, but Dane from good side, I don't think you'll find a better commander at the moment for a physical damage dealer in particular. The key with Dane is you have to scale King under the mountain first, particularly if you're putting 10 points in, because you want this instance of damage here to match up with Durin's Blood in round 6 when they trigger together. And then you get the 10% on top of this skill, which is a phenomenal damage dealing skill. And just like you didn't really need it, he gets an extra 10% for 3 rounds and a +5 attack for the commander. The other skill you go into with Dane, if you're lucky enough to have him high enough respect, is Iron Foot. Again, handy skill. It's got a stun on it potentially, and the target can't recover HP, so my Dane is high enough that when he's at level 50 I will be able to max all 3 of these trees, and he does some pretty disgusting damage, because I was fortunate enough to be in a season when 2.0 started, and I got some decent PvP at sort of level 48 to 50, so that was quite handy. So that's kind of where I'm at with what would be the main formation. I think the secondary formation is still up for grabs. Looking at how cavalry's worked, I might start looking at some sort of cavalry combinations. I may also look at some elf combinations. I'm not a big elf fan. They are quite squishy, but I have seen some great results from Elrond. I'm still unconvinced by Gil. I get that he's got some great skills in High King and in Kingly Kin, but it's just support com. I don't know. I feel like some people do it better, and it restricts you to have to use elves. So there you go. So the other thing that I would probably debate looking back, and I did change some gear around to suit this, is some commanders, particularly where you troop buffing early on, because you can't quite get the physical damage out of them same as really in 1.0, you couldn't really get the physical damage out of them early enough, so you tended to troop buff. Sharp Blade on purple gear is arguably slightly better than some of the gold gear options, because it's actually boosting your troop attack. I'd probably have to experiment with that again, but I guess I would probably run some more combinations of troop buffing if that was the case. Let's see if I can now actually look at taking this chat tile. I have someone who can't move, and I'm guessing it'll be Gandalf the White. It is Gandalf the White. I think the thing with formations, I can understand why they were trying to put in the universal energy pool, is the fact that you can run into this sort of situation that I'm in now, where you've got, it's a bit of a mess really from a stamina point of view. So I've got Gandalf the White with 8, Dane for 27, Galadriel with 48, because I kind of mix and match them earlier on when you've got one, because you start with just one commander in a formation, then 2, then it goes up to 3. So I've kind of tried quite a few different formations. I need more knights. And then I will continue to build spearmen. Just have a look at the quick power rankings again. I'm still in 10th somehow, don't really know how. There's some strong players up around the top though. So my I'll probably just leave it there for now because I think I'm kind of learning as I go along. I've probably touched on what I want to touch on for now, so I will leave it here. Apparently I can't put a point in there and talk at the same time. But my main sort of takeaways so far are expect it to be slower, because it's definitely a lot slower than how I expected it to be, particularly without the movement speed buff. I haven't scouted a single tile yet. I don't know if I'd get better results with scouting, but I guess it's that whole thing of not really knowing what you're looking for at the moment in a tile when you're trying to hit them. Arguably, if you're running full infantry, you don't want to hit full cavalry, but at the moment, from the tiles I've seen, there doesn't seem to be a complete synergy of one type of unit. There probably is, I would guess, when you go up a level. Again, no synergy, it seems to be. So I reckon 130 is potentially may start to synergize that a little bit. And I'm hoping it kind of goes into large units, so my infantry counters them a little bit better. So my takeaways are it's a little bit slower. Try and utilise your commander stamina as best you can. It's actually more difficult than it looks because you haven't got as much as before. It looks like you've got a lot at the start, but then you are waiting around for an hour rather than half an hour for movements. So, and each time you're moving now, you are losing three commanders worth of stamina of 20 stamina. So it does go down quite quickly. You've kind of got to look at running 3 formations, I would say. Because my equipment is very heavily based around how I want this to look when it comes to PvP, I have not really a great deal of gear with command, which I would say early on, if I was going back to do it again and I had the chance, I would run a lot more gear with a command stat on. See if I can find some stuff for a command set. Yeah, things like this have got commands, so it's just buffing those units, whereas I've kind of been more buffing the commanders so far. I imagine I've got so this is the best, I believe, accessory for command, pretty sure, with decent plus attack and plus defense. So if you have got a dragon tooth, worth running on things. And I haven't really got into troop commanders yet at all. I've kind of gone very physical or elemental damage because that's what the testing has seemingly brought out the best results from. So I've kind of shaped myself around that. I do expect troop combos to catch up at some stage, whenever that may be. As they are still tweaking things and looking to bring in different things. But other than that, yeah, it's been really enjoyable. I would just suggest genuinely using knights and cavalry combos with that ally skill to help you farm. I will be doing that soon with my commanders. As soon as these knights are finished, I'm going to sort of check that out, and I'll probably try and put some reports in the next video, see how it matches up with different commander skills. But yeah, so that's it for now. Thanks for watching. I'm hoping to do a lot more of these this season. I appreciate I haven't done any for a little while. But yeah, in the meantime, always follow your nose.